You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Now let's get to the coaching takeaways. And first and foremost, I hit on Fadil Diggs' switch to linebacker for this game. But shout out to defensive coordinator Elijah Robinson, who I wouldn't say was on the hot seat after last week, but people were certainly questioning him after that performance against Ohio because the defense did not look great against a MAC team, which, by the way, I mean, Notre Dame just lost at home to a MAC team, so maybe Syracuse deserves a little more credit for beating Ohio, but I digress. Elijah Robinson answered the bell. The reason why I'm saying Elijah Robinson and less so Fran Brown is because Coach Fran said that it was Elijah Robinson's vision to have Fidel Diggs move to linebacker for this game. I don't know if that's going to be a switch that Syracuse will do going forward with Marlowe Wax still being injured, but it worked for this game. So shout out to Elijah Robinson for having the foresight to see what Syracuse needed to do to win this game. Oftentimes the coaches, they get stuck in their own ways. They don't want to fix anything. Well, Elijah Robinson kind of changed up the scheme for one game. And Syracuse's defense looked much better. So shout out to him for recognizing Fidel Diggs' talent, understanding that he can play linebacker, and putting his player in a position to succeed. So Elijah Robinson deserves a boatload of credit for Syracuse's defensive effort against Georgia Tech. Elijah Robinson, by the way, is the defensive coordinator for the Orange. All right. Number two, thought the discipline was better. There were 6 penalties last week against Ohio, only 5 penalties this week against Georgia Tech. So the discipline in terms of penalties, if we just want to use penalties, was better in my opinion. And I don't think really any of those penalties that Syracuse committed were quote unquote undisciplined. Last week, Syracuse had a running into the kicker, which wasn't really a running into the kicker, but they also had a late hit out of bounds, which was definitely a late hit out of bounds on Justin Barron. This week, yeah, Clarence Lewis, he did have a late hit out of bounds in the fourth quarter. I'm really not so sure that was a late hit out of bounds. I think that's a ticky-tack call. I've seen the replay of it. I think he was already going to hit him. I think it's one of those bang-bang plays. I mean, do you want a late hit out of bounds penalty? Absolutely not. But to me, that wasn't really undisciplined. I didn't see him maliciously try to do that. I think it was a bang-bang play, and Clarence Lewis just got unlucky it was called. And unlucky that it was in that spot. It was in the fourth quarter on the drive where Georgia Tech made it 31-21 with a touchdown. It was on a third down play, too. It would have been fourth down. If that is the absolute worst that Syracuse is going to commit this season or for the rest of the year in terms of being undisciplined, I'll take that. Because I don't think that was really a problem of lack of discipline on Clarence Lewis's part. I think he just got unlucky, which it happens. They're human. They're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes. I didn't even really think it was much of a mistake. Whatever. Anyway, final takeaway, and this does fall on coaching a little bit. The special teams. I hit on it on yesterday's podcast, too, in the game recap. Now, Fran Brown took accountability for the onside kick debacle. If you recall, Syracuse was up by 10 points. They just let up a touchdown. I think there was around 5 minutes left in the game. Georgia Tech was down 10, so obviously they got an onside kick to get the ball back, and they recovered the onside kick. And I remember looking at the alignment and everything right before Georgia Tech was about to onside kick and thinking, something's not right here. Something's off. It just looked weird. It looked like Syracuse was a little discombobulated. They weren't lined up right, or they didn't know exactly what was going on. I didn't understand it. And then lo and behold, Georgia Tech recovers the onside kick. And Fran Brown took responsibility for it, saying that that falls on him and that he has to get his team more prepared for that situation. So I guess that's the only blemish on Fran Brown's coaching resume to date through 2 games is that he didn't have his team necessarily ready for that onside kick. Good news is it's incredibly fixable. Incredibly fixable, all right? It's not a huge deal right now. We can fix that, or this team can do that. And also, next time, if you're not sure, just call a timeout before it. Syracuse was up 10 points. You don't need to save your timeouts. Just call timeout. If you're sensing that something is a little bit off with the onside kick alignment or anything, call timeout, get everyone back in, put out the correct personnel, get everyone in the right position, and then do it. And then Syracuse probably recovers that onside kick. So next time, just call the timeout. You're up by 10 points. It's not a big deal. You can use it in that situation. As far as the block punt, that can't happen. Now, fortunately, Georgia Tech did not capitalize on the block punt. It was in the late stages of the first half, and Georgia Tech ended up missing a field goal on that ensuing drive. So Syracuse went into the half up 21-14, but it could have been 21-17 or worse, 21-all because of a block punt. Could have been a big swing in points. It wasn't. Syracuse got a little lucky. The defense stiffened near the 30-yard line, forced them into a long kick. Georgia Tech misses it. But still, don't make a habit of getting your punts blocked. It doesn't usually work. And number 2, a blocked field goal. Again, that just can't happen. I can kind of give a proverbial pass on it because it looked like the defender just jumped up and it hit his hand. And I don't know what you're supposed to do other than the fact that it can't happen again. You can't have your field goals blocked. I don't care what the reasoning is. You cannot have in a game going forward a missed onside kick opportunity when you're the receiving team, so there's a high likelihood that you're going to recover it, a block punt and a block field goal, and expect to win. In fact, Syracuse really dominated this game. The only reason it was 31-28 was because of the special teams. You can shave off at least 7 points from Georgia Tech's total, if not for the special teams. So they have to be better going forward. That was like the one sour note on this game. I don't think Syracuse, and maybe this is a good thing, has played a 100% perfect game. I don't think they're ever going to be 100% perfect. But from each of these 2 wins, there's been aspects of it that have been obviously great, and there has been maybe one glaring weakness. Now, last week, it was the run defense was really bad. This week, it was, well, the special teams were not good. So going forward, they have to correct the special teams. That's all I'm going to say about that. So those are the coaching takeaways. Discipline was better. Shout out Elijah Robinson for making the switch with Fidel Diggs to linebacker, and the special teams were not exactly good. That falls a bit on the coaching staff, particularly when Fran Brown said he takes accountability for the onside kick debacle.